For centuries, the idea of strength was pretty simple, right? Build a bigger wall. But what if, in our hyper-connected world, that very idea is actually our biggest weakness? Today, we're going to dig into a new framework for resilience that flips that whole idea on its head. It's called the Aquarian model.
Okay, so to really get where we're headed, we've got to first understand the world we're living in right now, a world that, whether we noticed it or not, has already moved way beyond walls.
So, let's just kick things off with a question that kind of turns everything we know about security upside down. What if all the things we thought made us safe, our fortifications or isolation, is now the exact thing making us fragile?
All right, so if you look back at the 20th century, the main playbook was what you see on the left here, fortress thinking. This was all about centralization, strict hierarchies, and stockpiling stuff to keep control. But the 21st century, it's running on a totally different operating system, over there on the right, network thinking. And here, strength doesn't come from being isolated, it comes from connection, adaptation, and how fast ideas can flow.
And look, this isn't some far-off prediction. This is happening right now. Business, data, influence, it all flows seamlessly across borders. We're talking about satellite economies and space-based communication. The old fortress model just wasn't built for a world like this.
So what happens when you try to force this old, rigid model onto a new, fluid world? Well, things start to break. And they break in some very predictable ways.
Let's take a real-world example. Say there's a disruption at a single shipping port. In that old fortress mindset, you might think, okay, the problem's contained right there. But it's not.
Yeah, because in a networked system, that one single point of failure, it creates this massive ripple effect. That one little delay can mess with manufacturing, prices, and what you can buy in a store thousands of miles away, and it happens almost instantly.
And this, right here, gets to the absolute core of the problem. You can't put a wall around a global supply chain. You can't wall off a cyber threat or a viral piece of information. Your old tools, they just don't work anymore.
Okay, so this is where the Aquarian model comes into play. It's not about just trying to build the walls higher. It's about throwing out the old blueprint and giving us a new one for what resilience actually looks like in today's world.
Just look at the words here. Dynamically sense, adapt, coordinate, learn. See, this isn't about being stiff and unbreakable. It's the opposite. Resilience in this model is a living, breathing capability that exists across the entire network, not just locked inside one little fortress.
And the crazy thing is, we're already seeing this model pop up all over the place, organically. Just think about it. Supply chains are becoming these self-adjusting global webs. International security now depends on different agencies working together. And businesses, they're collaborating in real time on shared cloud platforms. The world is already building this.
Okay, so how does this thing actually work? Well, it's built on 5 core principles. Think of these as the pillars that take connection, which used to be a weakness, and turn it into a massive source of strength.
All right, let's quickly run through these. First up is distributed strength, which basically means no single point of failure can crash the whole system. Next, you have rapid information flow, so the network can spot threats and opportunities super early. Third is strategic interdependence, which is a fancy way of saying partnerships become powerful assets, not liabilities. Then there's adaptive mechanisms, so the system can actually learn from what's happening and get better. And finally, cross-domain resilience, which ties everything together, the physical, digital, economic, and social layers, into one strong, cohesive network. So when you put all these principles together, they create this really fundamental shift in how we should be thinking about strategy, planning, and security, and it all boils down to asking a totally different kind of question. For generations, this was pretty much the only question that mattered. How strong are your walls? It's all about defense, about isolation, about building yourself up. It's the ultimate fortress question.
But the Aquarian model comes along and asks something new, something way more powerful. How strong and how adaptive are your networks? The focus just completely shifts, It's not about static defense anymore. It's about dynamic capability. It's not about isolation. It's about smart connection.
And really, that's the big takeaway here. This blueprint completely reframes what resilience is. It's not some wall you build and then forget about. It's a living, breathing capacity to evolve, to respond, and to thrive in a world that is always changing. Resilience becomes a process, not just a structure. So I'll just leave you with this one thought.
Think about your own world, your business, your community, maybe even your career. Take a hard look. In your world, are you still building walls, or have you started building strong, adaptive networks? The answer to that might just define how resilient you'll be in the years ahead.